Last week, I had the awesome opportunity to have a conversation with a self-made millionaire in commercial real estate. He's been doing real estate for over 25 years now, and he's been able to build a massive, over $100 million portfolio, particularly in strip malls. And he gave me his top 5 pieces of advice to young people in real estate or anybody getting started in commercial real estate. A lot of the advice ends up really revolving around the relationships that you're going to form with people over the years and the money that's going to take to do these deals and the money that comes from it. Let's get started. The first piece of advice that comes from him is stay in touch with your network often. He went on to tell me a story about how he lost touch with one of his friends he used to hang out with in high school, and fast forward a couple decades later, that person's now a high-power executive in the same industry that they are. He tried to reach out a couple years ago, and the guy was, nice enough to reply to it, but at that point, you're completely different people, and relationships move on if you don't keep in touch. At least one phone call a year is all it would take to keep that relationship alive. I talk about this a little bit more on my Twitter thread, linked down below, about keeping track with relationships and the other advice that you can use to take into relationships with business. Check that out. The second piece of advice that he gives us is never take money from family for your deals. He's gone on over the past couple decades to see so many times this has fallen through and gone wrong. And sometimes even when it goes right, there's other people within the family that feel entitled to certain gains and certain dividends and ownership. And when you end up mixing your family and your business in this kind of intricate way over a long-term time period, it always ends poorly from his perspective. So again, never take money from family for all of your deals. The third piece of advice he gives us actually ties into the other one, and this is be careful about taking money from friends. When you mix a tight friendship with business, things can become pretty wild and friendships can be ruined if deals go sideways. Depending on the outcome, it could change your entire relationship with this person. Be very careful over a long period of time about who you choose to take money from when it comes to your friends and what's going to happen and what the risk is in every deal. Just be very cautious of that because it can ruin your friendships. The fourth piece of advice that he gives us is put in more money into your deals. If you're going to end up syndicating a bunch of deals and finding a lot for your LPs, try and put some more of your own personal money in if you can afford it to get the higher equity positions and the higher splits. It's going to be worth it in the long term because when you go to pull these massive levers upon sale, especially in commercial real estate, you're going to want the equity and you're going to want the terms that are valuable to you. And in doing that, put more equity into your deals. One of his biggest regrets that he told me was buying a condo when he was in his early 30s. He had a couple $100,000 down into the condo, and at the same time, he was doing some of the best deals of his life. He could have put that exact same money just down into the deals, kept renting the home he was in, and had a massive return. He tells me that the opportunity cost of putting the money down into the condo for his personal living was way too high, and he didn't even realize it at the time. He could have put that money into his deals to be more effective, but instead he bought a condo that didn't actually get him any returns. The last piece of advice that he would give to his younger self is don't be afraid to take on more investors, and in fact, strive to make those connections and have more investors even if you don't need them for your deal. He told me about how one of his biggest mistakes in early parts of his business moving into the middle of his career was sticking with the same LPs throughout his deals. Of course, if you do good deals, your LPs are going to want to keep reinvesting and keep getting those returns. But the issue with having long-term LPs in your deal is that if you are only pulling money from them, then they have more and more power every single deal that you guys do together. And sometimes that will determine if you acquire the next asset or not. To prevent this, what you want to do is you want to network with more and more investors, even if you're doing great deals, and always keep them in the loop about what you're doing. So when it's time to take a new funding round on a deal, don't be afraid to swap one person out and diversify, or don't be afraid to just add one more person onto that cap table. This way, you won't face any issues with long-term investors wanting to stay comfortable within a particular niche or asset class, or having too much power over you to stop the deal from getting done. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this short little video over the 5 pieces of advice that a millionaire commercial real estate investor would give to his younger self. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and click on the other video that I have over the 5 biggest takeaways from my conversation with this same commercial real estate millionaire. And check out the Twitter thread that I highlighted a lot of this below as well. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at carsonsice and subscribe. Thanks.